make the 21st century the next American century. And I don't want anybody to pass out here, but I also want to thank all the media who traveled with me on the plane. And all my friends. No, come on. No, come on. Come on. All of my friends, and we have many friends in the media, and they were there every day, every night, every day, and every night as we flew around this country. And we met hundreds and thousands of good people all across America who want a better America and will continue to working for a better America. And as I looked around tonight and I came in, I saw a lot of very special people who've been helping me for the last 10, 15, 20, 25 years. And I say thank you for all you've done, because I know your support. Because I know that because of your support, I am still the most optimistic man in America. And I know that thousands of you have worked day and night. Thousands of you have worked day and night, and millions of you trusted Jack Kemp and me with your vote, and for that, we will always be grateful, and I say thank you very much. And I would say, Haley, you've done an outstanding job. We appreciate it very much. And we've had our co-chairman flying around with us. You've done a great job. We appreciated your being with us. Thank you. And I want to say to my campaign staff, to Scott and to Jill and to Joanne and everyone else, I could not have had a better, more faithful, more loyal team. And I want to thank everybody, and we'll have an opportunity to do that in the future. It's been a long time since I entered politics, way back in 1951. And a lot of things have happened since that time, but some things never change. A few days after I took my seat in the state legislature, a reporter asked me what I had on my agenda. And I said, well, I'm going to sit back and watch for a few days, and then I'll stand up for what I think is right. And any of you wondering what my plans may be in the future, I'm going to sit back for a few days. Then I'm going to start standing up for what I think is right for America and right for you. And all those who may be watching out there, the millions of people who supported us, I say thank you. We've enjoyed it. It's been a long, long campaign. I've learned a lot. I hope the American people have learned a lot. What we need to do now as Republicans is to come together, as we always will, keep the House. We're going to keep the House, going to keep the Senate. We're going to do what we should do for the United States of America. And I've never been prouder in my life than to have been the Republican nominee for President of the United States. So I leave you all tonight with a full heart and a fervent prayer that we will meet again, and we will meet often. In this land where miracles are always happening, where every day is a new beginning, and every life a blessing from God. So I want to say thanks to each one of you here, thanks you for all you've done and all you will do in the future for America. Thank you very much, and God bless America.
With
add up what he got in terms of a vote and what you got, and he asked you to get out of the race, he might have been the winner. What would you say to Bob Dole if he were to, I mean, what do you say to that?
I say what I said since 1992. Now, Republicans are taught at birth to make that statement. Anytime they lose, that I defeated them. The facts are, if you get the exit polls, and your network helped pay for them, I drew equally from both candidates in 92. I did not elect Bill Clinton. I think that the same exit polls will show this time that I drew more votes from President Clinton. You notice he's been dropping. And I think you'll see that most of those were caused, we drew them from him. But you can't keep people from repeating myths. I don't worry about it.
Ross Perot, a lot of people are saying that the Reform Party, with you incarnate as the party is a one-man band, namely Ross Perot, and that the party is on the ropes, and a lot of people are questioning whether your Reform Party will even be around in 4 years. What say you?
I say watch it. They said we couldn't create it, and we did in 10 months. Normally it takes 2 years in California. We did it in 18 days. Again and again and again, we have to endure this from the establishment, and that is broader than the two parties when I say the establishment. But that's because people like to keep things just the way they are and don't want to upset the status quo, and the history of man will teach you that it's human nature to keep things just the way they are until after a crisis develops. We are doing everything we can to see that the changes are made that will keep a financial crisis from occurring. And we will continue to do that, and it's certainly not a one-man band. There are millions of people involved, and they've done a wonderful job.
All right, Ross Perot, we thank you very much, and we congratulate you on your effort in this presidential campaign. Now to California, let's listen to Jack Kemp, the Republican nominee for vice president.
38 years ago. And this wonderful family, this has been the greatest experience of my life. I thank him, and I thank you, and I thank the millions of Americans who voted for the Dole-Kemp ticket. I called Al Gore, I called the vice president as well, offered, wait. Come on, you guys. This is my microphone. Harrington paid for it. But I called Vice President Gore and offered my congratulations to him and the president. And I told him that President Clinton and Al Gore have our prayers and our best wishes as he begins his second term as president. Let me say on behalf of all Americans, Republican and Democrat alike, we thank Bob Dole, his wife Elizabeth, for their commitment to our nation. We thank them for their decency, their grace, and their courage, and their indefatigable spirit. No one will ever forget it. Thank you, Bob. Joanne and I have profound respect and admiration and affection for Bob. He has conducted himself in this campaign in the same heroic way he conducted himself in the military and in his whole career in the United States Congress and the Senate, and we thank him for that.
Jack Kemp talking to his supporters in Costa Mesa, California. He's all the way across the country, on the other side of the country from Bob Dole. We've got another state to call for Bob Dole, and that is South Dakota. This is a state that George Bush won, the Republicans won in 1992, so it's not a big surprise, but it's been dangling out there, and we just are able to call it just now.
Now, let's go back up to the Northeast in New Hampshire. Robert Smith, the incumbent Republican, he hung on by his fingernails, and he's going to be going back to Washington. Bob Smith, the winner there in New Hampshire.
And in the state of Montana, Max Baucus, the Democrat, hangs on. This turned out to be a much closer race than Max Baucus would have liked, but he is now able to return to Washington as the U.S. Senator from the state of Montana.
Don't go away. CNN will be back with more coverage on this election night. The culmination of Campaign 96 continues in a moment.
Creativity is saying, how might it be done? And then making it happen.
We took stage there, shaking hands. He's working up quite a sweat because it is really hot in this room now with all of these supporters in here, and he's been working hard trying to get as much of the crowd worked as he can. You know, we were reporting a little bit earlier this evening about his financial disclosures and the fact that copies of them had not been filed with the state ethics office. We want to talk about that in just a second, but first of all, since we broke away to hear from Bob Dole, we want to go back now and revisit part of Senator Harkin's acceptance speech given right here just a few moments ago.
For the last couple of years, I've felt like the Maytag repairman in Washington since I was the only Democrat. It looks like I'm going to have some company in the U.S. House.
Now let's take a look at these new numbers with 62% of the precincts reporting. Harkin now with 53% to 47%. Just quickly, we did glance through some of his financial statements that were given to us a few moments ago, and it's interesting, Senator Harkin is always known to have friends in high places, and as a matter of fact, Steven Spielberg gave him $1,000, so that's just a bit of an aside. We want to now get to Tiffany O'Donnell as I continue to be showered by confetti. Tiffany?
Not a lot of confetti over here, Jim. I can tell you right now that the numbers that these folks are waiting for, the last county they're waiting to hear from is Scott County, which of course is a very large amount of voters, but it appears that there's just no way that there will be any catching up here. As far as a concession speech, we're told that Congressman Lightfoot might appear. It could be as late as midnight, we're told, because the governor is going to be speaking along with Congressman Gansky, so it could be a late one for Congressman Lightfoot and his supporters here. Right now, though, we'll toss it back to election headquarters and John and Kathy.
Thanks very much, Tiffany O'Donnell. We have some county numbers now we want to look at.
That's right, and I believe we're going to check the Boone County Sheriff numbers first. And we have Ron Fair, who is the incumbent there, leading with 52% over 48%.
Moving on to Board of Supervisors.
Out of the room, obviously thronged by the press and well-wishers. He just finished his speech about 5 minutes ago, and he is, in fact, the only Democrat to be reelected to a third term in the United States Senate. So Tom Harkin has apparently done it again, and he's ready to go back to Washington. Sonia and Mike.
All right, thank you, Tom. We have an update on the numbers, too, in the U.S. Senate race, with 62% of the precincts reporting. We have Harkin with 53% and Lightfoot with 46%. We also have some numbers here on the riverboat gambling referendum in Dallas County.
Yes, 40%, no 60%, but that is, well, we have some updated figures here with 5 of 21 precincts.
It looks like even a bigger victory than what we imagined. I just couldn't be happier, and I just want to thank so many Iowans who turned out in force. We had more volunteers out today than ever before in the history of this state.
Did you
you get a call from Lightfoot tonight?
I haven't gotten a call yet from Mr. Lightfoot. I would hope that he would call me, but I haven't gotten one yet.
Okay, one of the things you mentioned in your speech is you want the party unity, or you want unity within all politics.
Yes. Well, I think, now's the time to end the partisan politics. Let's start working together. There are more things that unite us than divide us. Let's quit focusing on those things that divide us. Let's focus on the things that bring us together, like education, better jobs, a cleaner environment, Social Security and Medicare. These are the things that can actually bring people together. That's what we ought to be focusing on.
One of the things you mentioned that there was an unprecedented dirty campaign in some aspects of your campaign with Lightfoot. Is there anything that you plan to do to try to stop that from here on out?
Well, I think Iowa today took care of that. I think the vote today sent a loud signal to candidates in the future. Iowans will reject this kind of single-issue, divisive kind of campaign.
And no sorts of legislation you can propose, huh?
No, I'd let the voters handle it, and I think the voters have handled it real well today.
All right, Senator Tom Harkin, once again elected. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll let you go find some cooler space. If you find some, let me know. We gotta go. Steve, you're on the other side. I don't know if we're going to go to you or not. If not, we'll toss back to Kevin and Cynthia. I can't...
Well, we are here on the other side, and it's just as loud and just as raucous over here. Tom Harkin talking about the unity issue and wanting people to come together, and he's going to fight for everyone now. Just kind of interested, maybe a little bit later on we can hear what Dennis Goldford has to say about that, whether that's just election night rhetoric or whether that is something that can truly come about. Kevin and Cynthia?
All right, Steve Carlin, thank you very much, along with Jeanette Trumpeter. You guys stand by because we're going to want to get reaction from you in regards to the other congressional races and some of the many other local races that are going on tonight.
And as far as the national races, our Molly Cooney has been following them all night. As you know, Bill Clinton has been reelected. Bob Dole just gave his concession speech. And what else is going on, Molly?
Well, that's right. Bill Clinton wins re-election, gathering 361 electoral votes to Bob Dole's 99 electoral votes. The polls closed at 10 o'clock on the West Coast, Iowa time. Mr. Clinton picked up Oregon, Washington, and California as well. And as you said, Bob Dole made his...
De Arkansas a San Juan, Puerto Rico, ahí se encuentra nuestra corresponsal Lourdes Melusa.
También tenemos que darle la bienvenida a algunas afiliadas que nos acompañan a partir de este momento y como mencionamos estamos continuando con esta cobertura especial del norte de elecciones destino 96. Nos vamos a Puerto Rico.
Exactamente, con Lourdes Melusa. Lourdes ha estado siguiendo durante los últimos días.
Has this been a particularly contentious race for you?
Well, just in the closing days of the campaign, and as I said, I think the voters of Iowa sent a signal loud and clear today that they just don't want to see this kind of single-issue, divisive politics in a campaign. There are a lot of issues that we can discuss, issues that bring us together rather than divide us, like education and better jobs and Social Security and environment. Those are the kind of things that we can work on. Even though we may have differences, we can work together for a better future. They bring us together. But there are some issues that people use that try to divide us. Let's not focus on what divides us. Let's focus on what brings us together.
You may be one of the few Democrats nationwide to go in on Bill Clinton's coattails, so to speak. How do you feel from that position? What are you going to do in a Democratic minority?
Well, first of all, I've never believed in coattails because Iowans are too smart. Iowans have always been very independent voters. They voted for Bill Clinton and they went down and voted for me and other Democratic or Republican candidates. Iowans are very independent voters. I intend to work for Iowa. If that means I sometimes agree with President Clinton, that's fine. But if I have to disagree with him, well, if it's for Iowa, I'll just have to disagree with him.
Another 6 years, that'll make you 2 years into the next president. Do you foresee that would be a Democrat again and continue this?
Oh, that's too far in the future. Right now, I just want to work, again, as I said, to build the best education system possible. We have to have the best education for the next century. I made that my #1 priority, and that's what I really want to work on.
Okay, very good, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Tom Cox, live at the Embassy Suites. Now back to you.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
And we've got some more results to look at. These in for the Senate, and you see Harkin with 53% of the vote over Lightfoot, the GOP challenger with 46%. That's with 62% of the precincts reporting.
And also in the U.S. Senate, Gratson with 0%, and these numbers do not Those are not and tabulated yet. In the U.S. House District, Leach, 20 years in the Congress, he has defeated Rush again with 47% of the vote.
And that's another candidate in House District 1. We have got Dallas County on the line. We've got Don Taylor.
Thank you. Some of those results till much later in the evening or early in the morning.
But I mean, how do you interpret that? I mean, they re-elect the president, but they don't want a Democratic Congress.
I would interpret it a little differently and say that I think the public liked the last 6 months of this Congress. I hope nobody misinterprets these returns and thinks this is a vote to, let's say, shut the government down, which was something that happened last year. Instead, this is a vote for the kind of cooperation, bipartisan cooperation, that led to passage of the Kennedy-Kassebaum health reform bill, that led to increasing the minimum wage, led to passage of a welfare reform bill. People think that's useful bipartisan cooperation, and they want to see more of it.
Bob Woodward was on this program earlier this evening, and he told David Gergen that he thought that the president should be his own investigator after this election. In other words, go through some of these campaign finance issues, the FBI files issue, and lay the thing out to the public, try to find out what happened and get those things behind him, and then go on before he can go on with the legislative business. How do you feel about that?
You know, for the last 2 years, we have seen investigations, though certainly the issue of the FBI files, the president has said it was wrong, it should never have happened, but I'm making sure that it will never happen again. Those files were not used politically, but nobody's privacy should have been invaded. We have changed the process, it won't happen again. I honestly don't know what would be served by the president spending more time and effort on issues like that, when I think what people elected him for is let's go on leading the country. Let's continue to pay attention to the economy. Make education a priority, as he said he was going to do. What does it take for America to continue to lead the world, to build a better future for our children? I think the president ought to put most of his time and energy into leading, into being president. There are other people who can pay attention to some of those issues you just talked about, and frankly, most of them have had an awful lot of attention in the last 2 years.
Haynes Johnson suggested a moment ago that there was a possibility that President Clinton might call on Bob Dole to help him in some way, maybe to be on the Social Security Commission or have some kind of leadership role. Is that likely?
Well, we know that the president has said he has a lot of respect for Senator Dole, and of course there is a model for a bipartisan commission. That was the Commission on Social Security, where Bob Dole really played an important role. So as we look toward next year, as we look at a bipartisan commission on Medicare, that's a possibility, but the president's going to have to make that and some other very important decisions.
Okay. Well, Ann Lewis, thank you very much for being with us tonight. We look forward to hearing from the president in a few minutes as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, some stations will be breaking away now to report returns in their local area.
Con su esposa Hillary y su hija Chelsea a dar su discurso de aceptación. Presidente de 50 años de edad que ha hecho historia esta noche, convirtiéndose en el segundo presidente demócrata en ser reelegido en varias décadas.
Una cosa interesante, estaba recordando de
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States, Mrs. Gore, and the Gore family. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening. Before I present the President, I would like to thank the people who made this glorious evening possible. My wife, Tipper, who has campaigned from one end of the country and back again with flair and passion. My 4 children, Corinna, Kristen, Sarah, and Albert, who have filled our lives with love and our hearts with pride. I would like to thank my parents who have set a standard of excellence and integrity in public service that has always inspired me. My brother-in-law, Frank Hunger, a wise and trusted friend. On behalf of the President and myself, I'd like to thank Peter Knight, the best campaign manager ever, and a campaign staff that worked harder and more effectively than any in history. And on a personal note, I would like to thank the people of my home state of Tennessee for giving us a victory this evening. And may I say on behalf of Tipper and myself to a very dear friend, and on behalf